Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are discussing about gravitation, the 8th chapter of class 11. Let us see what is gravitation. We know that every body in the universe attracts every other body, and that force of attraction is called gravitation. For example, the attraction between Earth and Sun, the attraction between a table and a chair lying in the room, etc. are the examples of gravitation. Gravitation is the weakest of four basic forces in nature, but it is the most important force as it has played an important role in initiating the birth of stars and in controlling the structure and evolution of the entire universe. So it is an important force in nature. Let's see what is gravity. Is gravity and gravitation are same? Gravity is a special case of gravitation. If one of the body is Earth, then the gravitation is called gravity. So gravity is the force of attraction between Earth and any object. For example, if a body is thrown up, it falls back due to Earth's force of gravity. Let's see how we can calculate gravitational force. That can be calculated by using Newton's universal law of gravitation. It states that every body in the universe attracts every other body with a force which is directly proportional to product of their masses and inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Let us discuss in detail. For that, consider two bodies A and B having masses m1 and m2. They are separated by a distance r. Then, according to Newton's law of gravitation, the force of attraction between these two bodies is directly proportional to product of their masses. So we can write F directly proportional to m1 into m2. And that force is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them, that is r square. So F inversely proportional to r square. So how we can write? By using proportional sign, F directly proportional to what we can write 1 by r square, because F is inversely proportional to r square. So we can write F directly proportional to 1 by r square. By combining these two equations, we can write F directly proportional to m1 m2 divided by r square. Now, multiplying this equation with a constant, so we can write F equal to G m1 m2 divided by r square, where G is a constant of proportionality and it is called a universal gravitational constant. So by using this expression, we can calculate the gravitational force between two point masses. Now let us see how we can define universal gravitational constant. If m1 equal to 1 kilogram and m2 equal to 1 kilogram and r equal to 1 meter, then F equal to G into 1 divided by 1 square, that is F equal to G. Thus, gravitational constant is defined as the force of attraction between two unit masses kept at a distance of 1 meter. Now let us see what is the dimension of G. We have gravitational force between two bodies given by F equal to G m1 m2 divided by r square. From this equation we have G equal to, what we get? Fr square, F into R square, Fr square divided by M1, M2. So dimension of gravitational constant G equal to, what we get? What is the dimension of force? M L T raised to minus 2 into here R is the distance. The dimension of length is L, so we get, here it is R square, so we get L square divided by the dimension of mass is M, so M into M we get M square. Here 1 M and here 1 M get cancelled, so we get, and L into L square, L cube. So we get L cube T raised to minus 2 divided by M. And that can be written as dimension of G equal to M raised to minus 1 L cube T raised to minus 2. So this is the dimension of gravitational constant. Now let us see what is the unit of gravitational constant. As G equal to Fr square divided by M1 into M2. So the unit of G is, what is the unit of force? The unit of force is Newton. What is the unit of distance? Meter. So we can write meter square divided by the SI unit of mass is kilogram, so we get kilogram into kilogram, kilogram square. So the SI unit of gravitational constant is Newton meter square per kilogram square. And what about CGS unit? In CGS system, the unit of force is dyne, unit of distance is centimeter, so we get centimeter square divided by, in CGS system the unit of mass is gram, so we get gram square. So this, in CGS system the unit of gravitational constant is dyne centimeter square per gram square. Now in SI system the value of gravitational constant is equal to 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 11 Newton meter square per kilogram square, and in CGS system its value is given by 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 8 dyne centimeter square per gram square. Now let us see why gravitational constant is called a universal gravitational constant. Because its value does not depend upon the nature and size of the body, and also it is independent of the medium in which the bodies are placed. So that is why G is called a universal gravitational constant. Next topic, vector form of Newton's law of gravitation. Now consider two bodies A and B having masses M1 and M2. They are separated by a distance R. Now here R12 cap represents the unit vector from A to B. Similarly, R21 cap represents the unit vector from B to A. And here F12 represents the, this is F12. What is F12? F12 is the gravitational force exerted on M1 by M2. Similarly, F21 is the gravitational force exerted on M2 by M1. Now let us see how we can calculate F12 and F21. What is actually F12? F12 is the gravitational force exerted on M1 by M2. What is its magnitude according to Newton's law of gravitation? G M1 M2 divided by R square, isn't it? Now how we can write this expression in vector form? Simply multiplying this equation with a unit vector. What is the unit vector from B to A? That is R21 cap. So in order to write this expression in vector form, simply multiply this equation with a R21 cap. But it is very clear from the figure that the direction of F12 is opposite to the direction of R21 cap. So I can put a negative sign here. This negative sign indicates that the direction of F12 is opposite to the direction of R21 cap. That means the nature of the gravitational force is attractive. That is, M1 is attracted towards M2. Now this is the vector form of Newton's law of gravitation. Similarly, we can write F21 is equal to, what is the magnitude of F21? Again, it is from Newton's law of gravitation, G M1 M2 divided by R square. In order to write this expression in vector form, simply multiply that equation with a unit vector. Here the unit vector from A to B is R12 cap. So F21 equal to G M1 M2 divided by R square into R12 cap. See the direction of F21, it is opposite to the direction of R12 cap. So I can put a negative sign here. This is the vector form of Newton's law of gravitation. Now from the figure it is very clear that R12 cap equal to what we can write? Minus R21 cap, because its direction is opposite but its magnitude is same. So we can write, because both are unit vector, so we can write R12 cap equal to minus R21 cap. Therefore F12 equal to what we can write? Minus F21. Isn't it? Thus the vector form of Newton's law of gravitation implies that the gravitational force between two bodies forms action and reaction pair. Up to this, we discussed about the gravitational force acting between any two bodies. Now, if there are number of bodies, then let us see how we can find out the resultant gravitational force acting on any one of the body. That can be done by using principle of superposition. Let us see the statement of principle of superposition. According to the principle of superposition, the gravitational force between two masses acts independently and uninfluenced by the presence of other bodies. Hence, the resultant gravitational force acting on the particle due to a number of masses is the vector sum of the gravitational force exerted by the individual masses on the given particle. Now consider number of bodies having masses m0, m1, m2 and m3 and so on. I want to find out the resultant gravitational force acting on m0, and that can be done by using principle of superposition. Now according to principle of superposition, the resultant gravitational force acting on this body is the vector sum of the gravitational force due to all these bodies. Suppose the gravitational force exerted on m0 due to m1 is F1, similarly due to m2 is F1, F2 and similarly due to m3 is F3. Then according to principle of superposition, the resultant gravitational force acting on m0 is Fr equal to, it is the vector sum of F1, F2 and F3 and so on. In this way, we can calculate the resultant force acting on any one of the body due to number of masses. Now, while calculating the value of F1, we ignore the presence of other bodies. That means, principle of superposition tells us that the gravitational force between any two bodies is independent of the presence of any other bodies. For example, consider two bodies having mass m1 and m2. The gravitational force between them is suppose 2 Newton. And now, what is the gravitational force between m1 and m2? It is 2 Newton. Now, a third body having mass m3 is placed at the midpoint. Then, what is the gravitational force between m1 and m2? It is again 2 Newton, because the gravitational force between any two bodies is independent of the presence of any other bodies. Okay. Now, let us see an example. Consider three identical particles, which are placed at the corner of an equilateral triangle having side A. Okay. Now I want to find out the resultant gravitational force acting on any one of the body. Why any one of the body? Because all the bodies are same and the distance between the bodies are same. So if you take this body or this body or this body, the resultant gravitational force is same only. Now let us calculate the gravitational force acting on this body. Now the force acts, suppose this is A, B, C. Suppose the gravitational force acting on the body kept at the point A due to this body is, suppose F1, its direction is towards C. Why? Because this body attracts this body. Similarly, the gravitational force exerted on this body due to this body is, suppose F2. That is also towards B, because the body placed at the point B attracts this body, so it is also directed towards B. But the magnitude of F1 and F2 are equal. Why? Because this distance and this distance are same, and this mass and this mass are same. So the magnitude of F1 and F2 are same, and it is equal to, suppose, F. Now, how we can find out the resultant gravitational force acting on this body? According to principle of superposition, it is the vector sum of F1 and F2. F1 and F2. Now, how we can find out the magnitude of the resultant force? That can be done by, we know that in +1 in the chapter motion in a plane, in vector you know how to calculate the magnitude of the resultant of two vectors. That can be calculated by using the formula R equal to square root of P square plus 2PQ cos theta plus Q square, isn't it? Now here the value of P is F and the value of Q is also F, and what is the angle between F1 and F2? This angle is 60 degree because it is an equilateral triangle. Now substituting the value, we get resultant force, magnitude of the resultant force Fr equal to square root of, what is the value of P? F. So F square plus 2 into F into F, we get 2F square into cos 60 plus the value of Q is also F, we get F square. That is square root of F square plus F square 2F square plus 2F square into, what is the value of cos 60? 1 by 2 plus F square. Here 2 get cancelled. 2F square plus F square we get root 3F square, and that is equal to root 3F. So this is the resultant force acting on the mass M placed at the point A. Now can you find out the value of this F? F means the force acting on this body, or the force acting on this body due to this body. That both are same and it is equal to, according to Newton's law, G M into M square divided by A square. So here we can write root 3 into gm square divided by a square. So this is the resultant force acting on this body due to these two bodies. Okay. Let us discuss some important features of gravitational force. 1. The gravitational force between two masses is independent of intervening medium. Second one, the mutual gravitational force between two bodies are equal and opposite, that is, they form action and reaction pair. Hence, gravitational forces obey Newton's third law of motion. Third point, the law of gravitation strictly holds for point masses. Next point, gravitational force is a central force because they act along the line joining the center of the two bodies. Next point, gravitational force is a conservative force. And the last point, gravitational force between two bodies is independent of the presence of any other bodies. And these are the important features of gravitational force. Now, let us discuss some objective type questions related with Newton's law of gravitation. First question. Two particles of mass go around a circle of radius r under the action of their mutual gravitational attraction. The speed of each particle is option A, root v equal to square root of gm by 2r, option B, 1 by 2r into square root of 1 by gm, option C, v equal to 1 by 2 into square root of gm by r, option D, square root of 4 gm divided by r. Now, here there are two bodies, identical bodies. They are revolving in a circular path of radius r due to their mutual gravitational force of attraction. Here we have to calculate the speed of each particle. Let us see how we can solve this. In order to revolve these two particles in the circular path, these two, due to their mutual gravitational force of attraction, these two particles must be diametrically opposite side. Okay. Now, what is the gravitational force acting between these two bodies according to Newton's law? F equal to G m into m square divided by, what is the distance between these two bodies? R plus R, 2R. So here what we get? 2R all square, that means we get 4R square. So this is the gravitational force between these two bodies. Now, in order to revolve this circular path, the centripetal force required for the particle is given by the gravitational force between these two bodies. That means this gravitational force will provide the necessary centripetal force. Now, what is the expression for centripetal force? mv square divided by r, isn't it? And that centripetal force is given by this gravitational force. So we can write mv square by r equal to gm square divided by 4r square. Here what we get? What happened? 1 m and here 1 m get cancelled. 1 r and 1 r from here get cancelled. So we get v square equal to gm divided by 4r. So that v equal to, if you take the square root, we get the square root of 1 by 4 is 1 by 2. Then the remaining term is square root of gm divided by r. So this is the correct answer. Okay. Question number 2. Three particles of equal mass m are situated at the vertices of an equilateral triangle of side L. What should be the velocity of each particle so that they move on a circular path without changing L? Options are option A, root gm by 2L, option B, root gm by L, option C, root 2gm by L, option D, root gm by 3L. in this problem there are three identical particles having mass m. They are kept on the corner of an equilateral triangle of side L. And these particles are revolving in a circular orbit of radius r without changing the value of n. Here we have to find out the speed of each particle. Let us see how to find out the speed of each particle. For that, first try to find out the resultant gravitational force acting on any one of the body. Now we can take this body or this body, any body you can take. Because all bodies are identical, distance between two bodies are equal because it is an equilateral triangle. So what are the forces acting on this body? This body attracts this body, isn't it? Suppose it is F1. Similarly, this body will attract this body. That force is F2. Now, here the magnitude of F1 and F2 are equal. Suppose it is F. Because the mass of each body is same and distance from this body to this body and from this body to this body are same. So the magnitude of F1 and F2 is same. And what is the resultant force acting on this body? That can be found out by using principle of superposition. And we know that what is the angle between here? It is 60 degree, isn't it? So when two identical forces are inclined to each other by an angle 60 degree, then the resultant force is root 3F, isn't it? We already learned that. Now that is equal to root 3 into, what is the value of F? According to Newton's law, G m into m square divided by, what is this distance? L. So we have L square. So this is the resultant gravitational force acting on any one of the body. And this resultant gravitational force will provide the necessary centripetal force required for the particles. So what is this expression for centripetal force? mv square divided by, what is the radius of the circle? R. So we can write mv square by r equal to, who will provide the centripetal force? This resultant gravitational force will provide the necessary centripetal force. So we can write mv square by r equal to gm square divided by, root 3 gm square divided by L square. Okay. Now here what happens? 1 m and 1 m from here get cancelled. V square equal to, if you take r in this side, we get r root 3. Here gm divided by L square. Now let us try to find out the value of r. How we can find out the value of r? See the figure. So this is a right angle triangle and now this side is L by 2. I want to find out the value of r. So since it is an equilateral triangle, this total angle is 60 degree, so that this angle becomes 30 degree now. Now take cos 30. What is the value of cos 30 here? Adjacent side divided by hypotenuse. So we have L by 2 divided by hypotenuse is r. So that r equal to what we get? L divided by 2 cos 30. That is equal to L divided by 2 into, what is the value of cos 30? Root 3 by 2. Here 2 get cancelled, we get r equal to L by root 3. Isn't it? Now putting the value of r in this equation, we get v square equal to L by root 3 into, here it is root 3 gm by L square. Okay. Now what happened? Root 3 get cancelled, 1 and L get cancelled, we get gm divided by L. So the speed of each particle v equal to, taking square root, so we get v equal to square root of gm divided by L. So this is the correct answer. Clearly? Instead of 3 bodies, if there are 4 bodies, try to find out the speed of each particle. Try to solve yourself. Question number 3. The Earth, mass 6 into 10 raised to 24 kilogram, revolves around the Sun with the angular velocity 2 into 10 raised to minus 7 rad per second in a circular orbit of radius 1.5 into 10 raised to 8 kilometer. The force exerted by the Sun on the Earth in Newton is option A 18 into 10 raised to 25, option B 27 into 10 raised to 39, option C 36 into 10 raised to 21, and option D 32 into 10 raised to 21. Now in this problem, mass of the Earth is given and it is equal to 6 into 10 raised to 24 kilogram. And angular velocity of the rotation of the Earth around the Sun is given by omega equal to 2 into 10 raised to minus 7 rad per second. And the distance of the Earth from the Sun is given, it is equal to 1.5 into 10 raised to 8 kilometer. And that is equal to 1.5 into 10 raised to 8 into 1 kilometer. How we can convert kilometer into meter? Multiply with 10 raised to 3, isn't it? So we get 1.5 into 10 raised to 11 meter. What we have to calculate here? We have to calculate the gravitational force exerted by the Sun on Earth. How we can find out that gravitational force? Here the mass of the Sun is not given. Then how we can calculate the gravitational force? We know that the centripetal force required for the Earth to revolve around the Sun is provided by the gravitational force of attraction between Earth and the Sun. So in order to calculate the gravitational force, simply calculate the centripetal force. What is the expression for centripetal force in terms of angular velocity omega? We have F equal to mr omega square. Substituting these values, we get, what is the value of mass? 6 into 10 raised to 24 into the value of R is 1.5 into 10 raised to 11 into, what is the value of omega? 2 into 10 raised to minus 7 all square. And if you solve this, we get 36 into 10 raised to 21. This is the answer. Clearly, I will discuss more objective type questions at the end of this chapter. Now, in my next lecture, I will discuss about acceleration due to gravity and its variation. That is, variation of acceleration due to gravity with height, depth, rotation of the Earth and shape of the Earth.